Okay, we have 5:30, so we will call this meeting to order. Miss Jenna, will you call the roll?
Absolutely. Mayor Miller. Ms. Cordova.
Here.
Mr. Rackler.
Here.
Mr. Lopez.
Here.
Mr. Merrick.
Here.
Mr. Elkins.
Here.
Mr. Robinson.
Here.
Ms. Parker.
Here.
And Mr. Self.
Here.
Okay, if you will please join me for the invocation and the pledge. We will have it led by Mr. Salk and Mr. Robinson.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful we could come here tonight and just be with us as we make the best decisions we can on behalf of our city, the citizens. Be with our firefighters as they're currently fighting a fire, and our city staff trying to fix a leak. Please be with everybody working out in this wind that adds extreme elements, dangers to their job. Please just be with them, and again, thankful for your son dying on the cross. It's in your heavenly name we pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendships among united cultures.
Okay, thank you both for that. Next item is public comment. The public has the opportunity to provide comment on subjects regarding city business. During the public comment period, speakers' comments will be limited to 3 minutes unless the mayor and or council requests for more information. The time limit is given in an effort to allow the public input, but to also move the agenda forward in a prompt yet efficient manner. All speakers must sign in at the beginning of the meeting, and topics are limited to 6 speakers per topic. Did everybody who needed to speak sign in? Okay, with that, we will start with our first speaker, Ms. Davis, banking bid.
Yes, thank you. I'm Linda Davis from JP Stone Community Bank, and I apologize to the council. I wasn't able to be at Finance Committee, so I did want to bring you some clarification. And I spoke with Ms. Rivera, and she's asked me to give you some clarification on a couple of things as well. So one of the main things that was brought up was collateralization or pledging of everything over the FDIC insurance of $250,000. We did make it known that we would be happy to pledge up to 100%, and we will be doing that if you choose us. So pledging, we would actually assign to you U.S. government securities that would be placed in your name. They're held in safekeeping with our correspondent bank at Texas Independent Bank. And if anything were to happen to the bank and FDIC insurance come into play, those securities would belong to the city then at that point. Also, she provided us with an analysis statement that we could look at for January of 25 from your U.S. bank. And we were able to run some numbers at their interest rate and ours and take into account the fees the other bidder would charge. And so coming to that, they're very comparable. So interest rate is very close on those. It was also mentioned positive pay. We do provide positive pay, which is to protect you on paper checks. It's a process. We work with you as a partner on that. One thing we've also done at JP Stone is we've implemented an anomaly software. We did that this year that adds an extra layer of protection. It actually looks at every check that comes through. It looks at the paper stock to see if it's the same paper stock. It looks at signatures, check numbers, and anything else that might be out of difference of what we have on file. So that's another layer of protection. A couple of things I tell you about the bank you may not know. We employ 42 people in the Portales branches. 5 of those are part-time ENMU students we're very proud of, and 3 of those are full-time students that just graduated. We kept on full-time. And our salaries in Portales for 2024 were $1.8 million. We have 51% of the market share in Roosevelt County. And of that, those are deposits that are loaned back out to our county and also to Eastern New Mexico. We are also one of the very few banks that still loan on manufactured housing, which is very rare, and that is a vital housing in this area. Donations, sponsorships, and events we put on in 2024, we gave over $200,000 to the community. Some of those include the economic development, of course, our Little League and sports teams, the junior livestock sale. We support the Arise Sexual Awareness Program, United Way, Pregnancy Resource Center. We sponsored with Altrusa the first and second graders reading under the lights this year. And we sponsor multiple Portales High School tournaments that bring people to town. And you'll also see our scoreboards all around town. One of the things our Young Leaders Group did this year as a project, we took fraud and scam workshops to all of our senior citizen centers where all of our branches are located. We had very good feedback from our senior citizens on those. We're also the largest donor for EMU for corporate sponsorship. We're the only donor on the new outdoor fitness center at the Eastern New Mexico University campus. We're the main sponsor for Rally on Main. We're the main sponsor for the spring concerts they brought into town. We are corporate sponsors for the athletic department. And of course, you see our scoreboards in the arena and the stadium. And we provide multiple academic scholarships throughout the year to the students. Our staffs also volunteer their time. We deliver Meals on Wheels. We run and volunteer the gate at the ENMU Rodeo each year. We do dog days, parades, fair booths, you name it. We've done trash pickup. And we're also members to serve on the board of the various organizations in town, Women's Club, Altrusa, Rotary, and the Chamber of Commerce. So at the end of the day, council, if you're looking for a bank that'll pay you a good rate and they'll protect your money, I think you could flip a coin on us. But I think if you want a bank that is grounded in the community and it's to our very core that we stand up for that, and it's you're more than numbers for us because we know you every day. We're your neighbors. So I think that you'd look for us maybe for your bank tonight when you make your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Mr. Davison. And the topic is ordinance 773.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes,
Ordinance 773.
yes. Thank you, council. My name is Mike Davidson. I'm on the Public Works Committee. For this reason, I wish to respectfully ask for maybe an extra minute or so to address this both personally and to clarify something from Public Works standpoint regarding ordinance 773. Vacant property registry, since it states recommendation made to council by Public Works. This document came before Public Works on January 14th, 2025. We had an overpacked agenda, so minimum time was spent in discussion. The recommendation was to present this to Public Safety, which we were told it got canceled. And so we recommended that they do present that to Public Safety and to council for refinement. We stated we support the city in finding a solution to problematic properties, but we did not approve this particular document as it is presented tonight in your agenda packet. So I want to make that clear. As a citizen, I have several issues of it. Section 2, definitions, evidence of vacancy, the city owning the authority to determine vacancy. An impartial third party, I feel like should be involved even in the initial determination, not just during an appeal process. Any entity that acts as judge and jury is kind of a dictatorship. On part 4, graffiti and defacement, honestly, that lands far more on the side of the city failures in the legal processes than the fault of the property owners. A better approach might be creating a city program to help citizens remove graffiti and then punish the perpetrators instead of punishing the victims. Cessation of business operations. Not all businesses or not all buildings in use are businesses. Some are for storage and other purposes. This should not be a criterion for vacancy. Regarding G, definition of vacant, an unoccupied commercial, residential, or non-residential building or structure that exhibits evidence of vacancy. Again, according to who? Having a one-party decision is a dangerous precedent. Vacant, section 4, vacant property fees. Registering properties for fire, police, and city contact makes sense, but charging $300, even a one-time fee, is excessive. Making it an annual charge, I don't have a word for that. I guess really excessive. A modest fee like $10 for documentation would be far more reasonable. Better yet, this information could simply be included in the property tax record. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Under section 5 exemptions, again, there is nothing in exemptions to facilitate actively used buildings that are not attended every day, but are serving a daily function of a private property owner and are not abandoned. From this point in the document on, the tone seems overly harsh. It almost sounds like a declaration of war. I don't understand why the city seems to focus on punishing and penalizing its residents. We saw the same approach with stage 3 water restrictions. Actions like these create unnecessary tension between the city and its citizens. And honestly, it makes people not even want to live here. And once again, our local government puts all the responsibility on the residents and little on themselves. There are things that the city has at its disposal if they would use them. Case in point, the abandoned drug house across the street. The action began in 2023. We've had 2 council meetings approving its demolition. Taxpayer money was spent on legal counsel, on city employee wages, on city councilors' time for this matter, not just once, but twice, yet it remains unresolved. We have heard reasons why, but at some point it stops mattering why something hasn't been done. And what starts mattering is that it hasn't been done. And this document would benefit from clearly distinguishing between dangerous, abandoned, and vacant properties in that priority. These are 3 separate issues. I think everybody could support measures to address dangerous or abandoned property, but the city has no right or business punishing or charging owners simply for having a vacant property. So I appreciate the extra time on that.
Thank you. Okay, next item is discussion items, our monthly update from the water department. Mr. Mendoza is working on a leak, so Mr. Moyer is going to take that. Oh, meeting minutes. Okay, sorry, I skipped one. Meeting minutes of the previous meeting. They are in your packet for review. And I hope you all had a chance to read those prior to the meeting. Is there any discussion on the meeting minutes?
Move for approval.
We have a motion by Ms. Parker, a second by Mr. Robinson. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Okay, now we'll move on to the discussion item of the monthly update for the water department.
Pro Tem Council, I'm gonna do my best as I got this on my way here. When the water leak happened. So currently we have, it's like 23 wells pumping, 14 resting. So total resting between Blackwater and Sand Hill is 47%. And Blackfield is Blackwater is pumping 23 wells, approximately 2.5 million gallons per day. We had a company come out to look at, and we're waiting on a quote for SCADA systems for the well field and AMI system updates. We're also looking into X drives for our wells. And where did Eric go? Eric, if you have questions about that, Eric could probably tell you a little bit more about that. But just different well field improvements. We're still we're getting ready to, we're trying to find the money to do the survey for the deep seated water. And water storage, so the month of March, 1,500 gallons per minute, or 2.16 million gallons per day, 27.5 average tank level. So Lime Street tank, the core cuts and vault base on the site have been poured and fittings are being installed. We have our Stantec is coming out tomorrow and they'll be doing the tank inspection, and then Smith Co will be getting their subcontractor to come in, spray disinfectant, and then we'll be putting water back in it. So probably within the next week or two, we'll have water back in Lime Street. Fire hydrants, we've done 2 this year and we'll continue as the summer progresses. And that's all I have for that. For the wastewater treatment plant, Our corrective action plan to get us back into compliance for our reuse water has been submitted to NMED and we are waiting on their response. And for that, I stand for any questions.
We have any questions?
And
Mr. Robinson?
sometime back, we had a report made by one of the persons who did a study on for us on water issues, Wilson.
Wilson and Company?
And there was a statement made in that report about we had assessed of 5 million gallons of water, wastewater every month or a year.
No, it was 580 million gallons per year.
80 million gallons of water. What has been done with that water?
Or wastewater?
That water,
That water?
the extra water that we have
That just goes out to the plant. It's going to the plant, so.
going to the fly.
Mhm.
Is there any plans to recycle that water into the city?
We can't treat it to put it
Can't
back,
treat
in- not to put it back into the city, no, not for potable water.
You can treat it for that.
don't have
That's not in our plans right now.
Right,
That's
yeah.
not-
We don't have the equipment to do that.
I mean, wastewater. That we can
Reuse,
use,
reuse.
reuse water that can be used on the park. I'm
So
saying
are-
that big gallons of water being dropped into something.
I think I understand. So the corrective action plan that we put in, that we sent to NMED is the plan that we're gonna, so that we can try to get our reuse water back into compliance so that we can use it in the parks. I'm guessing that's what you're asking,
Yeah.
and then we still need to find money for, obviously, for a more distribution is what you're going with. And so I think they said we could do, even if we plumbed all the parks, goes from 4% to 11%, I think is what we would use of that water, so. Not,
I love the term distribution because there's a lot of entities, for example, the golf course could use that water.
correct,
And if we could get the water sold to us, we don't want you to give it to us, we want you to sell it to us. That would help us tremendously save the golf course. If we could figure out a way, a plan, to work out with the city,
right,
and then this is not vested into, this is community interest, it's economic development.
no, understood,
And so if we could figure out a plan, or the water department could get with the country club
Mhm.
and the other citizens of the community to figure out how we could save the golf course.
and it would just be an infrastructure, it's an infrastructure thing, and then it's making sure that we're in compliance.
All right.
I will say, Oscar, I think Jerry and I are on the agenda for the Public Works meeting in March for that. So we're gonna give them a proposal.
Everything is, thank you. That's, all right.
Should settle with that.
I do have one more thing, the China hole, we have all the parts in. And as they catch up on their other work, probably next week, we should be getting to that repair. So that we can get that.
6 weeks, that hold the China's been set.
Yeah, we've been waiting on parts and then we took our time digging, so.
I did have one question on the 14 wells that are resting at, I think, Sandhill, you said, or was that Blackwater?
That's Blackwater.
So that they're resting because they have nowhere to go, correct? Since Light Creek tank shut
Sand
down.
Hill doesn't have anywhere to go.
Sand Hill wells, that's not including the Sand Hills. We're resting 14 and Blackwater wells. Right?
And then we're resting all of Sandhill.
So that's
6.
All of Sand Hill.
Okay, I missed that. Sorry.
Sorry. I probably didn't speak it correctly.
That's okay. I just want to make sure that I was on the same page.
Any other questions?
One, and I just kind of piggyback off Oscar's. Is there somebody we can bring in to give us some ideas of some way to use that water? It really is frustrating. Though we're just pouring millions and millions of gallons of water out there in a playa, and that playa is not really in
Recharging.
shape to recirculate that into the ground even. It needs refurbished, it needs redone. I know, I think I sent you contact information.
And I haven't heard back. Oh, well, we had a couple email exchanges back and forth and they were gonna make a plan to come out here
Okay.
to talk to us,
Check
but
with
I
the
haven't.
mixed soil and water and see where we're at with that, because that's just a lot of water going away, so we gotta find something to do with it. I mean, bound to be a better way, I don't know. See, it just sounds to me like our wastewater treatment wasn't built big enough to do the job that it was intended to do, that's what it sounds like. And when we're only using 7 to 11% of it, why didn't we build a bigger plant to
Well, I think the plant's big enough. I don't think there's enough places for it to go.
Yeah,
Because it's not plumbed, it's plumbed by the parks, but all the parks aren't being watered by it.
But according to what I've been told, even if we got every park
it's only about 11%.
we're only getting up to 11%. So why? What else can we do with it? I guess is something we need to figure out. That's just.
Through NMED and the OSE, there's the indirect recharge, direct recharge. There's a lot of things, but there's a lot of rules and regulations that we have to abide by and different things that we have to do that I'm not, takes a few minutes to figure out.
Any others? Thank you, Mr. Moyer. Okay, now we'll move on to our action items. Ms. McLennan. Item 1 is request for approval of resolution PC 2024-2025-38, special use permit at 829 East Second Street, submitted by Mimi's Little Buckaroos LLC. Recommendation made to the city council by a unanimous vote from planning commission.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor and Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and Council. So this is Little Buckaroos. They already have a special use permit. They, as you know, special use permits are not transferable. So when the new owners bought it, they just have to go through the process of getting the special use permit in their name. So that's what the processes we're doing today. We went through the special use process, sent out the letters, and we didn't have any protests. No concerns were brought up on council moving forward and approving the special use permit. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions? Okay, seeing none, what is the pleasure of the council? We have a motion by Mr. Rackler and a second by Ms. Parker. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We have one abstention. So motion carries. Next item, item 2 from community service is request approval of intent to adopt ordinance 773 establishing a vacant property registry within the city of Portales. Recommendation made to the city council by Public Works and Public Safety committees.
Perfect. So this is the intent to adopt ordinance number 773, which is the vacant property registry. So this is the intent to adopt. So if this is an ordinance you'd like the city to take in that direction, you can say no, and it dies here. If it's an ordinance you're interested in or an amended version you're interested in, you could say yes, it goes into the public hearing section. It has a public hearing and a couple of council meetings. So the purpose of this ordinance is creating a living registry of vacant commercial and residential properties that have been vacant for more than 180 days in the city of Portales for the purpose of the reduction of danger to occupied buildings next to vacant properties regarding structure fires, being proactive instead of reactive in terms of cost and time for future dilapidated structures, increase of property value of surrounding properties, and encourage economic growth. While the property values, economic growth, and reduced cost of the city are important, this ordinance actually was sought after for the safety aspect. So that's the aspect I'm focused on. But if you have any questions about the other three, please feel free to ask. So in the last year, and it's included in your packet, we have had a ton of structure fires. We've had an absolute ton of structure fires. We've had, for how many property cleanups we can do in a year, we've had over 30 years worth of cleanups burned down in 3 years. So every year we're having 10 years worth of cleanups. We've been having a lot of concerned neighbors who are very afraid that the vacant property next door is going to go up in flames. And even though our fire department's absolutely fantastic, they're afraid on a high wind day like this that their property is going to go up, and they're either going to lose everything or unfortunately their family's going to die in the fire. So one of the reasons that this vacant registry is being used in other cities and was recommended to us, it allows us to have updated contact information for all your vacant properties. We have properties that their contact information is the vacant property itself. So when we send them a postcard, something's happening, we are contacting the obviously vacant property. And this also allows the police, you have to keep your property boarded up. If the property is not boarded up, the police can go in and clear it because it's been vacant. You've declared it's vacant. No one should be in there. They can remove anyone and they can reboard it up, which reduces that property fire chance in the future. Instead, it just gives us contact for nuisance and weeds for your smaller things, so it doesn't turn into a dilapidated structure where it becomes a dangerous structure where in the future the city has to clean it. If you have any questions about it, I'd be happy to answer what I can. Chief Williams is here to talk a bit about the part about removing people from the building if need be.
Questions?
Yeah. I've got about 100.
Yeah, go for it.
We'll start with you.
To start with, what's wrong with our process now? We're not completing the process on the ones we're already doing. And now
Correct.
you're going to add an ordinance that's gonna add to triple or quadruple that.
Correct.
So
So
who's
our
gonna do all this work?
Correct. So the process that we have now is for dangerous buildings. Not all your vacant properties are going to be considered dangerous buildings. If it's missing windows, it's missing doors, it is still a structurally sound building that is not a dangerous building. If people are breaking into vacant properties and doing drug deals or having fire, that's not a dangerous building. There is nothing our ordinance allows us to do until their weeds get too high. Because we do not have one that says, you know, you have to have windows, you have to have doors, because if the property owner doesn't want that, or the property owner doesn't complain about the people in there, there's not much that we can actually do. So a dangerous building is when the roof's falling in, the walls are coming down. So those are our extreme cases.
Right, but we're still not even getting those done that we have already.
Correct. And we've had, the last 3 years, we've had 30 years worth of projects come up. So we have people call and say, hey, my neighbor has a bad accessory building. When are you guys going to get to it? And I'll be like, well, 15 years. Because we got 15 years worth of projects in front of it that are worse. So we do have to somehow slow down these fires because they are burning and turning properties dangerous faster than we are going to be able to clean them. Even if we use all of our money and we do the max amount of properties every year that we can, that we still have 30 or 40 years worth of properties online.
That's kind of a contradictory statement. You've got 30 years to do already, and you want to add more to the list.
No, so these would not be,
Go.
no, so these would be, we board them up. We're trying to keep them from becoming dangerous buildings. If it's a building that's in good structural condition, but people are going in and out, then the city can board it up or work with the property owner to board it up. And that means maybe it won't get burned down and turn into something the city has to deal with later.
You've got some wording in there you need to work on for sure, because there's one place in there that says it can't be boarded up because that's a sign that it's vacant. And then later in the document, you say you got to board it up. You can't have it both ways. I've got several properties I've got boarded up right now that the owners, it's just not a property worth renting anymore. So they have, we bought the materials, we boarded them up. We take care of the lawn, we make sure everything's done. But this one of my owners has 4 of those properties, and now you're gonna tell him he has to pay $1,200 a year for something that he couldn't rent in the first place. It's just, I know Mike's already said all that, but it's just excessive. It's just insane to be charging someone that kind of money. The $300 is a drop in the bucket to trying to do anything about it. So I don't understand. I mean, it just feels like we're trying to get money somewhere. I don't understand why we're trying to do that. I do think it's been excessive to our citizens and people that own property. I'm totally against it. I think it needs to go.
And you're welcome to change the fee on it. We're not particularly interested in the fee. That's the fee that comes with the city's ordinance that we templated off. We're interested more in the be able to remove and the ability to board them up and make them safe. That's the main part of that. So yes, the fee does help the city offset those additional costs of having to board and take care of them. But that's not the main point of the ordinance.
Mr. Robinson?
Section 9, enforcement violation and penalties. The property right across the street from the Memorial Building. We went through that process and I don't know where we stand on it. And we found out that the gentleman that owned that was a military person. We couldn't do anything to him. So how does this apply?
So this would apply. So the property back there was submitted to our lawyer in January of 2024. And he wasn't able to move it forward. So when we do get a new lawyer, those properties that are still on hold are what those new lawyers are for. But this would allow us to, every time that window gets kicked back in, the city doesn't have to go through this process of trying to contact the gentleman overseas. And we can't go board it up right now. We have no right to go board that building up. We just have to lay it open until we finish this court hearing procedure or until the gentleman decides, get someone to board up for him. This would allow us to actually go forward, have a contractor board that up every time it's kicked in and clear it out to make sure no one's inside.
But by your definition, it's a dangerous property.
It is. So when the lawyer situation gets handled, that property is still has been declared a dangerous property and is just waiting for the lawyer. The staff have taken all the way up to the lawyer. Unfortunately, the lawyers have to take the next step. And so that's what we're waiting on.
So it would be any other property in the community. Yeah.
Yeah.
That there's squatters in.
Yeah, so a building that's not, because that one's, it's got damage, like it's structurally unsafe.
Yeah.
But if you have a property that's structurally safe, but is still, people are living in it, people are squatting in it, the windows are off, all of that. This allows us to cover the structurally safe one and make it secure. The dangerous structure allows us to move forward to the partially burnt buildings that structurally need to be demolished.
Well, piggyback on that, the property on North Avenue, Maine. You started knocking it down, or was that volunteered by the owner, or who? Because that was a dangerous piece of property. And I'm talking on the corner of what is that, Jacob?
by Alson's.
Norfolk also.
The family probably had to do that because we haven't had anything move forward for almost a year.
Yeah.
Properties.
We submitted all of we're ready for the next step for the hearings in January 2024. And they did die with legal.
They did, the family did that.
Yeah, so the family did come in. We request it, we can ask it, but we have to go through that process legally to force a demolition or to do it ourselves.
I'm glad to see there's some action there, whoever did it.
Yes.
Mr. Williams, anything you want to add?
It was just. I appreciate all the work that Kelly put into getting you all a template so that you can make the changes instead of just asking you all for an ordinance on this, because I got with Kelly and the fire chief and said, we need to start doing something so we're not spending hours upon hours and overtime and everything else to deal with these buildings after squatters get in, catch them on fire. Or what's even going to be worse is when we're going in there and just finding dead bodies. We need to do something to prevent the next steps from happening. Whether it's the buildings getting demolished, destroyed on the inside, causing the property owners more costs and everything else. But these people are going in there and they're using drugs, they're doing all this other stuff with the increase in fentanyl and everything else we're seeing. It's only a matter of time before we start just going in and we're finding dead bodies. And that's what we don't want to have. So that's why Kelly did a great job, I thought, of putting together a template, because, you know, we as staff get it to you all. You all are the lawmakers. So we're just giving you something to work with. Make all the changes you want. We're just asking for a little bit of help so that we're not having to send everybody out to basically clean up the mess from all the other issues that are coming out of it. So, I mean, you know, whether you all feel that fees need to be gone, increased, lowered, whatever, that's what we have you all for. Our role is to give you something to start with so that you can make it what you think is helpful. I mean, that's where we're at. You know, we don't get to decide. We're just helping get it for you all as the legislative body. So, you know, I'm sure Kelly'd be happy to take any and all recommendations, throw them in there, make it work how you guys want it. But we're just asking for something to help a small problem not grow into a huge problem.
So we would need to adopt this intent and then maybe create a committee with maybe Mr. Rackler, you'd want to be on that because you have some input. And then kind of get something for like the permanent ordinance, maybe take it to a town hall or something.
Yep, we can do anything. We have to bring this version of the ordinance in
For the intent to adopt.
if the council's gotten together with us in those 30 days, 2 weeks now, I think it's so 30 in that period, and they can create an additional draft with their opinion that they can also bring forward. We just have to have the starting point that we can draft something. So yeah, if you're interested in any part of this, then you can move it forward and then we can
Work on the language.
work on whatever you guys want to see for
I would
2
like
weeks,
it
30
to
days.
see it go to both committees. I sit on public safety and I see that written here that it was in public safety, but
It did.
Can't remember what we had to cancel that meeting for.
We went back, it's already gone to public safety.
That's right.
meeting moved to the next week.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this one did come.
I don't remember it on the,
Wasn't on-
yeah, I don't remember it in
I
the
remember
committee,
discussing, I think I was at the Public Works meeting with the.
public works
Yeah.
and safety.
Yeah, because about 99% sure this one did go to public safety.
Okay.
Because that was one that a gentleman told us that, they really liked it. They wanted, what was the next step was sending it to the lawyers, but they didn't want to hold it up. So to send them an
Gotcha.
email.
Chief Knuckles.
Was it Chief
Chief Knuckles, yeah.
Yes. But I can verify just to make sure.
And this did go to lawyers. This has gone through a lawyer already.
Lead lawyer.
It has gone through a legal lawyer.
And how long did that take?
Probably about 2 to 3 weeks, if I'm not mistaken.
Cause that's something else I had written down I didn't say is that it concerns me that we're trying to pass ordinances when we don't have a lawyer to review them. And I know we have the league. But they don't live in this community. They don't know how that fits with what we do. And you know what I'm saying? It's a legal opinion. I get that. I'm sure the document's legal.
Right.
Progress can't stop.
Right, I understand that, but ordinances being passed without a lawyer is really iffy to me, but the other thing I was gonna ask is, we went through all this with the animals, where there was so much we wanted changed, it took twice as long. It seems to me like it'd be easier to say, let's get the committee together, like you said, and create one. I wish they would have come from a committee to begin, I guess that's what I'm saying.
And that's why we took the template to both public works and to public safety first before we brought it here, was to get some of those ideas.
Yeah, that public works leader, that folks works provided.
I don't remember seeing that.
Done it, that it wasn't discussed in length. Was
I know it was a very, I know they did postpone quite a bit of stuff on it.
Because they had such a jam packed agenda.
We did. I know it was recommended to move forward to the public safety. We brought it to the public safety. His recommendation was if we could bring it back to public safety to do that, but if that would slow it down drastically, that because of the safety issue, to just move it forward and send them the final email. And so we sent the final email out.
Ask which community did you get this draft from?
So Miss Jody Diaz from Economic Development was the one who gave us the template. But the template, I'm not sure which, we did look them up and there's quite a few, it's not an overwhelming where every community has this, but they are starting to become more popular in some communities that have high vacancies.
And they've been trying to bring this for over a year. Is what I was told. It's
No.
brought before.
Not me,
No.
the Miss Diaz.
For the previous leadership. And we brought to them and then it never moved anywhere, so. I received it, passed it on, and we wanted to move forward on it.
Yes.
So what is it about it being registered as a dangerous property that gives you the authority to go in and remove vagrants that you don't have now?
Well, I did the research and I found where if we can clearly identify it as vacant, we can go in to check if there are signs that something's going on in there. If it looks like the door's been forced, whatever, we can go in and do that. The problem being is that the continuation of the problem, in order for us to get something done, we need to have somebody to contact. So that, if it belongs to me, so that whether it be planning and zoning, police department, fire department, whoever knows to get in touch with me so that I can be made aware of the problem that's going on. A lot of these property owners don't live locally anymore. They're who knows where, they've moved how many other times. It's difficult to get a hold of them. I mean, that's why I'm sure the assessor's office or tax office, whatever it is, they probably got a list of people who are delinquent in taxes because they're not able to get a hold of them. But it allows us to do something. And if we get the people who are continually breaking into these homes to squat and whatever, then we can do something other than tell them they got to leave. We can then take legal action against it because we have to be able to identify a victim in order to have the crime of trespassing or breaking and entering, anything like that. So that would allow us to at least do something with the chronic offenders.
So if you've got a building that was a business, but it's vacant, that someone is squatting in it. You can't go in there and say, show me proof of ownership of this, or we're removing you.
Right, we can kick them out, but they're gonna go back in because we can't do anything to them. So then it becomes a repetitive process of, okay, if our officers have time, like such as a day like today, where I'm sure they're gonna be busy dealing with everything else from traffic and the water leak, the wind issues. You know, where are we gonna have time to go and check these properties continuously? I mean, other than neighbors paying attention and calling and saying, hey, there's people that went in there, and then we can go get them. But then it's just gonna turn into that chronic thing because we can't do anything other than tell them they have to leave.
This does allow us to secure the property.
So trespassing is not against the law.
We have to be able to identify a victim who is willing to take action.
Okay, so how does this ordinance help us find the owner? I don't understand how that's helping us find the owner. If we can't find the owner to pay the taxes and we can't find the owner because they moved 4 times, how does this help us find?
It gives us the ability to secure the building, the property.
If they register it as a,
Well, even if I remember right, there was a section in there that if they fail to, we can go in afterwards.
So correct. So it gives 180 days for someone to register. If they do not register, they can still be put on the vacancy if they're clearly, because we still have to post them and try to get hold of property owners. If they don't respond 180 days, it's declared vacant and no one should be there. So he's still allowed to remove people because it has defaulted to a vacant property where no one's allowed to be there.
but you still won't be able to trespass them. So no,
If we had this in place, we could actually cite them, arrest them as it goes on.
yeah, so the only way that this will probably work is if I, as a landowner, property owner, want to sign up, they then break in and squat in my property. You can come get my assistance to help trespass them.
You've already given us.
Without my assistance, you're not getting that done.
Yeah, you're giving us the consent to take the legal action against them and charge them for trespassing. Do something about the damage they've caused to the building, things like that. Whereas if they don't, and that's where the other fees and things come in to help motivate people to do this. So that then we can take action because this ordinance would allow us to file those charges.
So the owner of the building or the property has to pay this fee to get it registered.
Whatever price you want to say.
Yeah.
Essentially, they just have to get on the registry.
Right.
Yeah.
If you
I can
can
say
see
it's
it's
free.
no cost.
If I want to say,
do that.
I just need help getting on this registry, I go get my property registered, they then have my blessing.
And we have a list of properties that's supposed to be vacant. So when code enforcement's driving by and someone's living in this thing that they just registered as vacant, we have all the information to contact the owner, all that permission to go remove them. And then they get a time, hey, come board it up. If they don't do it in that time, we can go board it up so people just don't go back in.
Assume the intent of the $300 was to say, hey, I pay you this $300, you go board it back up once it happens. I'm already on your registry, then I'm not having to pay to go board it up later.
Send it to you. Some cities do it as an inconvenience. They're trying to get you to sell your property to bring economic development. You can have that cover their property things. You can have it free, and then we charge them for the work we have to do. We don't particularly mind how the city would like to recoup the money it spends. We would just like to be able to secure those houses to stop this structure fire pattern that we've got going on.
So I have a question. So what happens if one of the buildings, which this has happened, and currently we have these houses or buildings in our community that were vacant, that they went in, squatters, and it caught fire, so it didn't completely burn down, so it's halfway burned down. So now what happens with that? I mean,
So that's when it jumps to the dangerous buildings ordinance. Because it is structurally unsound, it's considered a dangerous structure. As I said, the problem with that is we can do, on the budget we can do 3 demolitions a year. And that's if we don't do any mowings, we don't do any property cleanups, and we don't do any alley cleanups, because each demolition quotes about $17,000. So we only have a $50,000 budget. And we did one property cleanup that was $90,000. So the fact is we can't clean up the properties as fast as they need to. So this would hopefully slow that down so the city can attempt to catch up.
I totally understand that with the property owners about them having to pay. But I think if they have to pay, then that's gonna want to help them say, okay, I'm gonna need to make sure that I take care of this. And that's exactly what the chief said. a lot of people that have properties, houses or whatever here in our community, they don't live here anymore. So they don't see this. So now we're in this community and we're saying, we complain as community members. There's so many abandoned buildings, there's so many vacant houses, the squatters are getting in, there's fires. We complain about it, but at this point, we're not doing anything about it to help it. So we definitely need to do something to move forward to help this. And whether we like Mayor Pro Tem Cordova said, maybe we need to adopt this and come back and get a committee and say, okay, we do want this. This is exactly what we want, but this is what we need to change.
100%.
We definitely need to move forward. We keep complaining about it and going and going and going, but yet as council or as people that are able to do something, we're not doing it. So I am for it. I think we need to adopt it and go ahead and go forward with it and go back and revise it and make it work for our community, whether it's $300 or $150 or whatever. I think if the owner has to pay something, they're gonna really, right now, they're just like, oh, you know, the city will take care of it. Well, unfortunately, the city doesn't have the money to do it. So we're the ones that are having to deal with it and look at it. They're not. So we need to do something about it. So I am for it. My opinion.
How can you adopt something and start enforcing it and then go back and change it? Why not just change it before you adopt it?
This is the intent to adopt.
Yeah.
It's not the actual adoption.
So this is just saying you are interested in this, and then there's a public hearing where the community can come forward and say, hey, I have problems with this. We like it, but we'd like to see those. So they can put their opinions into on what they'd like to see on the final version. So this really does allow council, committees, interested shareholders to get those opinions in to create a final draft to come forward. Instead, I have to bring the same draft up so people know what's coming up, but we can bring a secondary draft with all of the changes that have been recommended, drafted as well. And then you can choose to accept the amended 733 brought before you.
I think the intent is good, and I think it should go back to a committee. Because the purpose, if you read the purpose, the way it's stated here, is ambiguous in a sense. Not, it's a boilerplate being copied probably from, I don't know what's the source, but it's copied, and it's not, it doesn't fit per house.
It's a start.
It's a start. So let's use this as the chief said, a template, and send it back to committee. You said Mike Rackler should be on that committee. I agree. And bring it back.
I don't have any problem being on the committee, and I'm not against trying to do something about the properties. That's not what I'm saying. There's just so many things about this that I think need fixed. I'd rather it have been fixed before it even goes to this intent vote. That's my point. We're already at this point now, so let's go, let's move. I'll get on the committee and let's fix it. But in the future, I'd like for committees to look at those ordinances before they come here, rather than us saying, dang, there's a lot about this we'd like to change, and then we go backwards.
Just for future references, I do a lot of ordinances. Who would I go through to create a sub-focus group to look at this? If there's not already
You probably already know what you want to work on next. I mean, if you ask us at the end of the night when you speak, we need a subcommittee for X.
We'll
somebody will
volunteer.
Okay, that'll
We
work.
know ahead of time, we'll volunteer if it's something that.
No, I just wanna get that down because I don't particularly have another one coming up, but if we have that process to make sure we can create sub-focus groups.
Questions.
Okay.
So we get a subcommittee. Okay, this is just me trying to, we get a subcommittee because you know something's coming up that you take it to the subcommittee, then you end up recommending it to come to council. Well, not all council's gonna agree with it. So there we go again. I mean, we have to start somewhere.
And if we bring the changes from each committee and then that way we know their thoughts,
Right.
then we have a draft from everybody and then we can move forward with who's participated. That's the purpose of the committees.
Public safety, our public works, that's the purpose of those committees. We already do that. pretty
Mayor,
much.
Mayor,
Yes.
you know, I know a person that we've been trying to clean them up for 15 years and we still haven't cleaned them.
I
And
have
they're
one that's
still
on
in
for 20.
Portales and it's all trash. That's not the only one.
Yeah. I know.
And
but-
we never can clean it. We get pretty tough, but we back up.
Well, and then another thing also is we spent all that money on that cleanup and it's getting back to the same thing. We're back in the same boat. So we really need to focus on looking at that as well.
And we are working on redoing our nuisance ordinance. Kind of a subcommittee to try to catch some of the smaller ones. In a way that will preserve money for the larger ones, so those larger projects can be done a little more routinely.
Yeah, okay.
I have a question on that. Kelly, you came visited with me this week and we kind of went over some of this and you brought up the one over there, not just kind of across from City Hall that Ray Brunson owned.
Yes.
Burnt. City ended up cleaning it up. And then you told me how much they had spent on it, how much we sold the property for, and how much we lost. Okay. In that process, when we sold that property, did it have to go out for bid because it's city property, or was it marketed in any way? Could it have been marketed in any way?
Correct. That was my first guy here, but if I remember correctly, it did go out for a bid and it went to the highest bidder.
So therein lies our problem with that, if it has to go out for bid. Because you can't basically obtain what the property is worth. You're just gonna get, if you've got 3 people that find out that it's for sale and they put in low bids, then you're just gonna award the highest bid of those.
On that one, I do know we did go talk to multiple real estate on what price that they would publish it for, and we did get substantially more than what they felt the property was worth on that one. Unfortunately, the cleanup was just so expensive that there was no way the city was going to make its money back on that property.
And I do know on that property, we did get appraisals.
So on that phase of it, on the cleanup, did we didn't go out for RFPs?
Yes.
That was before me, so that I can attest to.
Kelly, in your research, did you find any? If I'm owning a piece of property on X Street.
Okay.
And someone sleep in there and burn it down. And it's not my fault. Because I'm over here on another street sleep. How do we help the victim?
So for that, it'd actually be a civil issue between the property owner and the person that burned it down. We can only hold the property owner responsible for the condition of their property. Because that's who the ordinance is effective with.
This ordinance is going against the victim. I mean,
Right.
if I had this property over there I live on Amazon, I have property on Daniel Street. Something happened to that property on
Right.
Daniel Street.
Where if we can file criminal charges against them, there's a possibility for a judge to issue an order for restitution. There also is the potential for assistance through the CVRC Crime Victims Reparation Commission through the state to try to help.
Well,
with
shouldn't
some of
that be in this ordinance in some kind of way?
That's already state,
Information.
that's already state issues. So I don't know if you want to put it in there or what, but I mean, it's already,
I know if someone have a piece of property and someone
Right.
went to sleep in it and burned it down, then that person should have in this ordinance we should be able to advise that person where he or she should go.
And we can advise, we would just send them to talk to chief or someone like that who had that legal knowledge to help them with their next steps.
the district attorney's office has victim advocates that'll help them find all the avenues that they can apply for once they're a victim of a crime. Unfortunately, if we don't have somebody as an identified victim, it's a real key element in the crime. You have to have a victim. So if you don't have somebody who's willing to come forward as a victim, we can't charge them. We have to have that. It's like Kelly could punch me in the face, and if I don't want to do anything about it, then police can't arrest me, charge me, anything else. We have to have a victim in order to go criminally. So this is gonna help us attain a victim in some senses.
So what you're saying then, if I'm a property owner and my property gets burned down, not knowing to me, I'm a victim, I become automatic a victim, and can that person come to you and get that criminal charge process started?
Right. We can go to you and say, your house was burnt down. do you wish us to proceed, or you can cooperate with us? Or a lot of people just are uncooperative. But we have to have that victim in order to proceed.
And this ordinance is hopefully trying to catch before the house burns down. To say you were on a vacant registry, there's no one supposed to be in your house. So when you see someone in a house, it gives them saying that is a vacant property, they can be removed. And it can be boarded back up, hopefully before you have to get down to the legality of my house is burnt down.
I guess I'm worried about the person who is a victim of a circumstance.
Right.
Ms. Parker?
Do we have anything regarding squatters? Like, there's a certain time of period that they can go in, and if they're staying in that house, then they become.
There are no squatters' rights in New Mexico. So we're good there. We just have to be able to kick them out. I mean,
Even if they're outside the property?
right.
There is squatter rights in New Mexico.
No, there's landlord tenant laws, which is where a lot of people get in trouble, is because they allow people to reside there. And then it becomes part of the whole landlord tenant
On
issue.
real estate, if you've got somebody that moves in on your property and sets up camp, they're there for a certain amount of time, they can claim property.
They don't know that.
Not as far as our issues go. If we can establish that they never had a legal right there, we can remove them.
So would something like this help that?
Yes.
Yes, so that way we wouldn't allow them to stay there.
Right.
Like, okay, well, there's nothing we can do, they're there, they stay there, they've been there for a while.
Well, we had the one, we were having issues with the property on, was it Canadian? A year or two ago, where Mr. Shaw was camping and all these other people were camping in the back of the house. And the property owner was allowing them to stay there even though he was not around. So we weren't able to remove them because he had given them permission to stay there. So then it then became a landlord tenant issue.
So if
that's
it would have burned, it would have been on the homeowner.
right.
But then by being on the vacancy registry, they're specifically saying no one has permission to be there. It should be vacant.
Okay.
To my knowledge, that house is still vacant.
But wasn't there a fire? on the
Yes.
property?
I think it was the shed in the back.
Yeah, it was.
Right. So, I mean, there's circumstances like that where this would help us to be able to do something.
Okay, Mr. Moyer.
The amount of complaints that I get about the way the city looks, this is not just about, it is definitely about that and safety, but it's also about homeowners, business owners, and taking pride in your properties and taking pride in this town. And if we have to have something on the books to basically force people into this, if they're not gonna do it on their own, then I'm completely for this. That's why we've moved this forward, and I'm not opposed to charging people for the time that we are gonna have to take to possibly board up. The hours that it takes for people to drive by these properties, for the police, for the fire department, and all those things. So that's just my stance on it.
Okay, thank you.
Just to be clear, I don't think there's anybody up here that doesn't want us to do something about their vacant buildings. It's just how we go about it and doing it right to begin with. That's what we're, so.
We're
Okay.
just trying to get the ball rolling. That's all we're trying to do.
With that
Otherwise,
being-
it's just sitting, sinking further into the ground.
With that being said, what is the pleasure of the council?
I move that we adopt a notice of intent for the ordinance. And that with providing that it goes to a committee. To the public safety and the public works committee, and we're doing and working with Craig Kelly.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Robinson and a second by Ms. Parker. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries.
To clarify, that's not gonna need an additional committee now, because that's set on work, so. There's no point in having a new committee.
No,
I'm
it's-
already on work.
You're
so-
on the public works
Right.
and you already on public works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's it. We'll do it.
Give Mike Davis something else to work on.
Okay, next item, we're moving to finance. Item 1 is request for approval of ratification of bills, expense reports for January through February 2025. Recommendations made to city council by a unanimous approval of the finance committee.
Good evening, council. So in your agenda packet is the check reports for both the month of January and February for your review and approval, and I will stand for any questions on the check reports.
Do you have any questions on the bills?
Once again, I just want to thank you for all the work you do. It's just really refreshing to be able to look at these numbers instead of not having them, so.
Yes, thank you. Okay, what is the pleasure of the council?
For approval.
We have a motion by Ms. Parker and a second by Mr. Rackler. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, item 2 is a request of approval of resolution 2025-05 of FY 2025 third quarter budget adjustments. Part 2, recommendation made to the city council by unanimous vote from finance committee. Ms. Rivera.
Okay, so again, those are included in your packet. You have before you the third quarter budget adjustments part 2, since in January we did the part 1. Majority of the budget adjustments you see are for the various departments' personnel budgets. Please keep in mind that when the initial budget was submitted, none of the personnel budgets were adjusted. So that's why you see some of the adjustments now. We have several budget adjustments to planning and zoning department to include expenditures for animal control. And again, a reminder that the animal control budget expenditures had not been budgeted for FY 25. The governing body adjustment you see on there for 140,369 is due to the Roosevelt County Health Council and the release of their funds as we are no longer their fiscal agent. Also, if you notice some significant budget adjustments, you will note to the Water Enterprise Fund to budget for 2 grants from the Water Trust Board and then 1 for the capital outlay. And that is in summary some of the budget adjustments. I will stand for any questions.
Do we have any questions on the adjustments?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Merrick and a second by Mr. Elkins. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, and our next item is request for approval of resolution 2025-06 establishing New Mexico Bank and Trust services for the city of Portales and identifying signatories for city accounts. Recommendation made to the council by unanimous vote approval of the finance committee. Ms. Rivera.
So council, we received a letter last month from US Bank, that is our current banking service provider, notifying us that US Bank Portales branch will be closing on April 21st. This doesn't give us much time as we are now under a very short time frame to secure banking services for our city's needs. And as we're required to make deposits within our geographic boundaries of the city of Portales, which have qualified as public depositories by reasons of insurance of the account by an agency of the United States or by depositing collateral per our policy and state statute. Upon receipt of this notice, we determined we had some critical needs we need to continue to support, especially that of our utilities, which is our daily collections. I reached out to New Mexico Bank and Trust and JP Stone Bank on February the 26th, asking them if, based on the information I sent to them, to provide us with a cost estimate and determine if it would be services they could provide to our city. Both banks replied with the requested information, and I thank them both because they had great customer service and great response. And after discussing with our auditors, we determined that either bank would suffice the requirements for being a qualified bank due to their assurance of either meeting the collateralization level or being FDIC insured. This information was shared with our finance committee at the March 12th meeting. And after discussions and given the information we had at the time, it was recommended by the Finance Committee to select New Mexico Bank and Trust based on being 100% fully FDIC insured, and then also providing the convenience of their purchasing P-card program. I also have online Tyler with New Mexico Bank and Trust, who has been the sole source contact for this, and then also Melanie Vasquez, and then Mr. Jerome Clemens with also New Mexico Bank and Trust, if there's any questions on the proposal that was submitted to council. And I will stand for any questions.
I'll just give a little bit of background on this. So at the Finance Committee, it was myself and Veronica and Mr. Wood. We did elect to go with New Mexico Bank and Trust based on the information we had. Looking back, and y'all might be able to clarify this, I don't believe that it is 100% FDIC insured for the full deposit. The remainder in excess of 250,000 is just going to be going to essentially it's into a sweep account that will be collateralized through other deposits. Is that correct? It won't be fully FDIC insured.
So I can take that question. So it actually will be fully FDIC insured. So we're a part of a network of over 2,000 banks through a company called Intrafy. And through that network, what we're able to do is we're able to place those deposits with all those different banks. You still have full access to those deposits. On your online banking, it shows you having access. With the statement we looked at, it was over $18 million. So that allows us that we're not going to put over $248,000 or $249,000 in those money market accounts. So technically, you will be fully FDIC insured with us for the totality of the relationship if we keep it in the what's called an insured cash sweep solution. We do also offer a sweep into a money market account if you would prefer to have collateralized securities, and we can do that at 100% as well.
Okay, so when you send that $250,000 increments to those various institutions, that money essentially is leaving our community and going to those local branches across the country. That money is not staying here, correct? It's not going to be invested in banks that are in our community.
It does technically stay here because there's what's called a reciprocal agreement. So we pay a little bit of a fee and we actually get those same deposits right back into our balance sheet. So those deposits, though they're not under your name anymore, from an FDIC insurance perspective, we still get those deposits back. So they still sit on our balance sheet and we're able to deploy those out into the community.
Okay. And then the other reason that we went with the New Mexico Bank and Trust, as Liliana said, was the P cards. With US Bank, I believe y'all had the P cards there and the cash account, correct? With JP Stone, they do not offer the P card system. So we would have to go to a third party for that, which wouldn't be the end of the world. We do that at the electric co-op. Just means that you're gonna have to write another check to somebody else during the month. So the P cards are just essentially a credit card that wouldn't be with JP Stone. It could be with somebody else. New Mexico Bank and Trust, it's in-house with them. I think that I pretty much covered everything we talked about.
Correct. It's just to clarify, JP Stone does offer it, but it's through a third party.
Right. And so I did have Mr. Stone and Miss Davis come visit with me. They essentially said they would match up to the full 100% for securitization through the collateralization, just like New Mexico Bank and Trust is doing. I think in their initial proposal, it was at the 50% mark, which I think is the state minimum. Is that right? And so that's why they did that. I think both banks would do a great job. But the recommendation of the Finance Committee was that we do go with the New Mexico Bank and Trust based on the information we had. I've had several discussions with several other members of the community voicing their concerns and thoughts on the matter. And I'll just be blatant with it, is kind of what Linda touched on earlier. It's the community aspect that JP Stone offers is really what they like more. Banking and banking is apples to apples. They feel that JP Stone would offer a different sense of community than New Mexico Bank and Trust. We at the electric co-op, we use both institutions, never had any problems with them. And I know they are both local and do great things for us. But that's the discussions that I've had and what was discussed at Finance.
would like to say,
Yourself?
I received a call yesterday from Mr. Woods, who was part of the finance meeting. Unfortunately, I was out of town, so I wasn't able to make it, but he told me, in light of the information that he found out, that JP Stone was willing to basically match and basically apples for apples comparison. He said that he would have liked to have that information, but based on that, he wished he wouldn't have made that motion in the meeting. So take it for what it's worth. He wishes that we would have recommended JP Stone.
I do have to state for the record that I am employed with New Mexico Bank and Trust, sit on the finance committee, but of course I have to take an ethical step back from that. So that's just stated for the record. Any other?
And you pretty much abstained from the conversation,
Yes, I did abstain from the
assisted with any
conversation.
questions we had, but abstained from the motion as well.
That is correct. Mr. Rackle?
I guess my question is for you. I guess the question is, where do we go from here? It sounds to me like, this is my opinion. It sounds to me like, and I've talked to several people as well. It sounds to me like this, I would like to see this go. And I know we're on a short-term thing, but finance could have a meeting on a short term. Right? And I'd like to see it go back to finance and let the two banks present and then bring us a recommendation. Because it just sounds like we keep hearing on the information we have, on the information we have. So it just doesn't sound like you had all the information you'd like to have had.
Well, and I will say it was a little bit different because I don't think we put out an RFP for this because of the emergent nature. I want to say US Bank is closing April 21st. So the reasoning behind it was just to help expedite the process. I don't think there was any malintent in the way that it was presented. It was just what we were given.
And we don't, go ahead, Mr. Dana.
So no, I didn't release a formal RFP for it because we are able to procure this under our small purchase. And two, yes, we are under crucial time to meet our critical needs.
What's the crucial time? What is that?
April 21st.
21st, yes, and definitely, certainly before that, because we've got to get people trained on the portal, handling the money, and then also our software to be able to be compatible with that deposit and where it's going to be funneling to in the funds.
Can I ask, in the finance committee, did this closeness of community come out discussion? You all have this discussion?
We didn't have this discussion. We really just went over the proposals that were given to us. Me and Veronica were both remote, so Chris was the only one on the finance committee that was in the room, along with members of staff. So number one, it was kind of a tough meeting to have. But we went through both proposals, but no, that didn't ever come up.
Well, and we can allow Melanie and
Yes.
Tyler to also speak on that behalf.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Melanie Velasquez. I'm with New Mexico Bank and Trust. I am the appointed newest president and CEO. I reside in Albuquerque, New Mexico. A native of Albuquerque, I've been in the financial industry and banking for over 27 years. We appreciate the opportunity to have this partnership and earn your trust and banking relationship. And I do want to bring to light that New Mexico Bank and Trust began its roots in the Portales community in 2002 and has been dedicated to serving the community, not only from a consumer, but also our small business and commercial portion of our banking. We have continued to contribute dollars directly to our community. We also have full-time employees of the branch that will remain within the community. We also are in the process of hiring and have been allotted a full-time employee positions and will continue to grow in that market. We have a focus on our public funds, municipality, and tribal deposits. This is a very strong piece of our business, and in our restructuring and focusing on what our where we need to be with our customers. We are bringing in an experienced team led by Tyler Cisneros, myself, and then we will also have Jerome Clemens, who is a local resident, who is a graduate of Eastern New Mexico. Our community is important to us in the various markets that we serve, whether it's our time and our talent or our dollars in contributing into the local markets. These deposits will be deployed to help with financing and small business loans, consumer loans. As we are going through our acquisition and merger merger with UMB Bank, we have 100% commitment to remain in these markets and committed to our customers, and to also create more reliance on products, our strength, our soundness, and the ability to serve you as your bank and meet the requirements that are required on the deposit collateralization, also bringing our strength and soundness to the table. Again, we've various dollars and contributions and community initiatives led by our local team, as well as our leadership team that sits in Albuquerque, from various projects with United Way to our home Habitat for Humanity. We've also done local food drives, coat drives within our branches. Our team is committed to rolling up their sleeves and being involved in this community, and this is important to us.
Any other questions?
See what the distinguishing characteristics.
I'm sorry.
There's a distinguishing characteristic between the two banks. And and this is my opinion, I think that there's a possibility not having a lot of red tape to go through with one bank versus red tape to go to another bank. In other words, I think we used to say in university, one-step shop for the kids to apply. They have one area to go, and it expedites the process. So I see that as a distinguishing characteristic between the two banks at this point. And maybe that's not the main one, but that is a big issue.
With the P card, are you talking about
Yeah,
the P card?
P card, yes. But that's Oscar's opinion.
Thank you,
not the rest
Oscar,
of it.
for your opinion. Anybody else?
Can I just add on our behalf too? I mean, I know you didn't put an RFP, but if you look at our proposal, I mean, the differentiation, I mean, we did put together almost a 20-page proposal. I've been doing this for 19 years, been focusing on public entities in New Mexico in the last 13 years. It's very specific to state statute. Give an example with that P card that we have. That commercial card, you statutorily are not allowed to be able to pay interest on a commercial card without taking it to the voter. Our card does not have an interest rate involved. So, I mean, that is what's really important with that. I would look at all the proposals and see, was the other proposal, did it have a regular credit card with that? From a statutory perspective, I've worked with the likes of the state of New Mexico, Curry County, Mesa Lands Community College, Clovis schools. I've worked with almost every public agency in this state. I think it's really important to think of it in that manner as well, as how you all are entrusted with these public deposits, that your fiscal agent also have a lot of experience with that as well. And hopefully you'll look back at our proposal. And if you want us to come and do a presentation in person, we're happy to do that. I was just out there this last week in Clovis all day. So we're in the community, even though I do technically live in Albuquerque as well. But I'd look at that as well, as that we did actually focus on this like it was a public bid, the way that we put our proposal together. So you would see that. And if you look in our executive summary, it's a over $650,000 benefit to the city net to you with our interest and our savings on merchant services. So looking at this last year is what your total revenues were. That almost increases your revenues by 2.5% if I looked at your fiscal year budget from this previous year.
At this point, it's being recommended to us by the Finance Committee that they unanimously voted to go with New Mexico Bank and Trust. So as a council, then at this point, we need to either accept or deny that recommendation.
Correct. You have to vote on this resolution.
You have to vote on it.
Do we have any other questions? Okay. Go ahead.
I'll just say I was also contacted by Chris Wood, and he did make the same statement to me that he felt like maybe there was some information given later that would have changed his position on making the motion. So, and I'm kind of torn here because I know that you're in a time crunch, but just really wondering if we shouldn't give the Finance Committee another opportunity to review this. I mean, we've got more members here. I mean, Rustin wasn't here, so. And then would it still fit your timeline to act on this at the next meeting?
So Counselor, where I stand is yes, we are pressed for time. But we would have the time to do another finance committee, that's fine, and have our banks present. And I'm also torn because it's the principle of it that we've followed the protocols and the right channels to get it to our finance committee and involving them in our selection. But yes, we could go back to finance committee and bring it before them and then have the recommendation to bring to you for council. That would call for a special meeting so that we could expedite this.
So I have a question. So what would be different? So, I mean, was there a deadline, like once you submitted or you requested proposals?
So I did request when I submitted and contacted the banks to have it to maybe by March 7th to give us time to bring it to committee and then the soonest next council meeting. I did relay that information to both of the parties, expressing how critical this was for us to fill.
So the issue is that when the finance committee did meet, not the entire finance committee was there. So I guess.
So the issue is now that there's, in light of new information that Ms. Davis presented, having the bank, JP Stone, come back and say they'll 100% collateralize, whereas before it was 50%, which was their required minimum. And now I feel like finance committee members are bringing forward this information, saying if they should have had that information, they might have suggested JP Stone.
So was there a reason why it wasn't presented at that time?
No. So to me, you're bringing your proposal, you bring your best proposal, the best for the best of the city. And that's what we made the selection based on the information we had at the time. It was the best fit for the city.
And I would agree with Liliana on that. What was presented is what was presented. So based on what was given to Liliana for proposal, New Mexico Bank and Trust had it, and they deserved it. And so I think that's why the recommendation was there. I agree. I think it would be great if the full finance committee was there to have had some input. But the agenda was posted. We all knew what was going to be on it, so we had the opportunity to be there if we did want to weigh in on it. It was just unfortunate that only 2 of 3 that were present could even vote on the matter. But it was unanimous with us too. So
were each bank notified that they could be at the meeting in person, or was it?
So they were notified the finance committee and when it was, but I didn't personally invite them to the meeting. I mean, these are posted online. I see them all the time, our times on our Eastern New Mexico News. So they're open to the public. All of our meetings are open to the public, even our workshops, to share the knowledge.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, what is the pleasure of the council?
this is a tough one for me. I would love to make the motion for approval. Just because I was of the ones that made the unanimous approval to begin with. But now hearing that he did not like it, the way that it was presented is troublesome or worrisome, but it's what was presented. So I'll go ahead and make the motion that we do accept the bid from New Mexico Bank and Trust, and make that motion that we approve resolution 2025-06, establishing New Mexico Bank and Trust as the Portales Bank.
I second that motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Elkins and a second by Mr. Robinson. Jenna, can you do a roll call vote, please, on this one?
Ms. Cordova?
Abstention.
Mr. Rackler?
Nay.
A no?
No.
Okay. Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Merrick?
No.
Mr. Elkins?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Self?
No.
So can you
We
tell
have
us the
a
tally?
4 yes, 3 no, and 1 abstain.
Okay,
So
so we have
It carries.
So motion carries for resolution 2025-06. Okay, next item is city council and staff comments.
Thank you.
We will start with the staff. Do we have anyone from staff that has anything? Mr. Williams?
Yes. Been hearing a lot of rumblings at the.
Sorry, if you'll come to the mic because we can't hear you.
Now, I've been hearing a lot of concerns that are being floated around about the traffic camera fines that are being collected. People are worried that the money is going to Florida. It's being collected in Florida and then it's all coming back, and Ms. Rivera can account that we do get our monthly payments from them.
Is there a percentage or something that goes to Florida? What is that?
They keep $25 per violation as the cameras don't cost us anything. So they maintain them, they operate them, they maintain the system, they do the collection and send us our portion, which is the remainder of the $75 that remains, of which we're still trying to track down where we're supposed to send the state their portion. Nobody seems to know, not even the courts. But so we've got that money is coming back to us. It's been used to purchase the school zone lights that went up here on Abilene. And then any other things that we may come up with in the future that we see that's needed. I still got to try to get in front of DOT to request the okay to put the flashing slow down, you're going too fast lights that were asked for on the square. But unfortunately, we have to have DOT's authorization as it is state highway, even though it's our poles and everything else. So we have that. And then also we got our second swatting call. I don't know if anybody knows what the swatting is, where they call, give some outrageous complaint that or allegation to get law enforcement to respond with a heavy presence. So we had one this weekend to the gentleman in town who was very understanding. In fact, he came in and spoke with me Monday to commend the officers for their professionalism when they arrived. And then we had another one earlier today. I was able to be in there in dispatch when they were still talking to him, and it's clearly a computer generated voice. It's coming from a number that's outside the United States. And you can tell there's some translation going on as words get placed in the wrong order sometimes when they're translated. So hopefully we've generated enough awareness between dispatch and the officers that we can approach those calls. We will still have to go and investigate them, but hopefully we can do a much more subdued response.
What's their end goal?
Disruption, chaos, trying to make people miserable. They've got nothing better to do, I guess. But it's a nationwide thing that's going on, and it's hit us. We've had two of them now, one Saturday and one today. So
Called it swatting?
Swatting is what they're calling it, as they try to get a SWAT team response, but we don't have a SWAT team to send, so they just get officers. So
I do have a question on this set of traffic lights. The other set over by Valencia, you've got lights facing you as you enter to the zone at the other end of the zone. These lights don't.
Right.
They flash as you're coming into it, but you don't see it from the other side.
Right. And we can order some more and put them on the other side of the street facing the other way.
I think it helps to have it. You've got a light flashing on this side of the street.
I agree.
And on that other side of the street also.
I agree. But when we ordered them, we just wanted to get something there because there's never been lights there, but we got them up now. So we can definitely put the money back where it needs to be and order more.
One question, Chief, on the cameras. I mean, I've been hit several times.
Well, you should slow down.
I do, I try to, but that's a very long zone on Globe.
Yes.
From 3rd to 18th. On the 25-mile-an-hour deal.
It goes on Globe goes from University down to 16th.
Or University to 18.
It doesn't go all the way down there.
Stop at 16.
Right at where that other light's flashing.
Where the other light flash.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about the 25-mile-an-hour deal?
That's the whole street.
The whole street.
That's the whole street. Go to 18.
Yes, from 3rd to 18th.
18.
City speaking.
Yeah.
And I know we're making an impact because every time I go to pull out on that street, even when the flashing lights are not flashing, people are driving 15 mph down that street now. I love it.
Not today when they weren't working. So
I live over there and I've seen people just fly down that street.
Right.
So I like the fact that it's slowed traffic down.
It's slow buses.
I'll get some numbers together. I'll get some numbers together and share with you what we've seen in a decrease, but it's been a significant decrease.
I have a question. So, have we remedied like when school's out and, because I know that some of the citizens have contacted
Right.
me about, hey, school was out. It wasn't the speed I was going, the 25 miles per hour.
Right.
But it was saying 15, but there was no school that day.
We're trying to keep the calendar in front of the officers when they go and do it, because most of our officers don't have kids in school, so they're unaware. But then when we do get made aware of those, we fix those. Right
Okay.
away.
Perfect. Thank
They
you.
just need to come and get with us if they have one. So,
Okay.
I mean, they don't even have to come in. If they can call us and tell us what the number is or give us their license plate, we can pull it up and address it over the phone when it's those type of things.
So your quality not seeing, we get $75 back.
They send us $75 and then we get to recoup the administrative costs for Ms. Rivera's time, the court's time, the officer's time, and then we're supposed to do a split with what remains with the state. So,
Well, I'm glad that you said that they can call you with that license plate number, because I've had citizens call me and say, hey, I'm having to take time. They're wanting me to go to central office, state that it wasn't a school day, and then take that to your office. So, and
maybe they're talking to the courts. I don't know.
no, they were talking to your office.
Okay. If they'll talk to one of the supervisors at least, because the line level
Well,
officers
that'll
have the
save,
ability
yeah,
to.
that'll save them time from work and everything like
Yeah,
that.
because we've remedied many of those where school wasn't in over the phone and such like that.
Perfect.
So
Any other questions from Mr. Williams? Any other staff?
now I will say on those though,
Oh,
if they're
yeah.
still going way over the 25, it still stands.
Yeah, they weren't, they were.
We've had a few of those
Yeah.
where they're like, it wasn't, the lights weren't flashing, it wasn't 15. Yeah, but you were still doing 40.
Yeah.
You know? So.
I can never get bored.
We hope not with all those kids on the bus. Ms. Richards?
Yes, I was gonna introduce you guys to our Army National Guard help that we're gonna be able to have for 4 months. This is Charles Clark. So you may have noticed a new face at our table, but he came and gave us the opportunity for a career skills program that they offer through the Army as they're transitioning out of the Army before they enter in the civilian life. So we'll be able to use his assistance to a full-time capacity for those 4 months leading up to his separation from the city. So we're really happy to have him on board, but wanted to introduce him.
Well, well, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate your service. We were all whispering up here, wanting to know who you were, so we're glad you were introduced. You're welcome, welcome. Anybody else? Mr. Moyer?
My stuff. As you guys have flyers up front with you, we put flyers back on at the entrance, and it's all over our social media, city website. The dumpster in a bag program, we were able to partner with Clean and Beautiful to reallocate money, $1,000 to buy, I think we have 51 bags. So we're gonna see how this works to see if we can continue to do this program for free for the citizens. But it's free to get. You just have to pick it up at City Hall. There's gonna be a rules and regulations sheet. You just write your name, address, And 2 weeks from the date you pick it up is the date that we can come and pick it up from either you have it on the street, or if you have it in the alley against your fence or something like that, obviously not blocking anything, or even next to a dumpster. We will come with the boom truck and pick it up. There are different things that you can't put in it. Obviously, we can't take Freon refrigerant and stuff like that. And all of that is given to people when they're picking up the bags. But this is part of our process to try to help with the bulk amount of trash that sits in alleys and give people an opportunity to clean up the alleys and come together as a neighborhood or a community, and then we come pick it up and you don't have to go to the convenience center. So we're starting that. So streetlights. Our electrician is now back available. We're working. Obviously, the weather hasn't been that great, so we're still working on the streetlights. We're still working on replacing the dumpsters. We have replaced 285 3-yard dumpsters so far, 52 4 yards. So we received 850 3 yards and 159 4 yards. So we still have a ways to go. So if you haven't gotten a new dumpster yet, we're working on it. We're waiting on some more stop signs to come in. Our sign machine, all the pieces are here. We're waiting on vinyl and blanks, and those are on the way, so we can start making street signs and fixing those types of things. Softball field, next week, we're gonna be putting down pre-emergent, and then we'll also be turning on the water and then checking on the facilities and everything. And we're gonna be working on the road by the Eden softball field this week. They cleaned it yesterday to set it up to it, and obviously that's not really gonna work out right now. We have 3 different funding sources for road repairs. We're trying to maximize as much as we can. The road repair companies are kind of booked right now, so we are booked in September. And we're hoping, once I get a list of all the roads, I'm gonna send it out to everybody and then post it online. But we're hoping we can think we're gonna be able to do about 25 miles of road repairs this year.
That's gonna be awesome.
So that's our goal. And that's just, again, that's using 3 different funding sources to do different pieces of the city. So, but the entire city will see the benefit from that. And then I will be out of state from Thursday to Sunday of this week. So if you need anything, Chief Kathy doesn't know if he's in charge.
That's some questions.
Yes, sir.
I noticed we've got a new stop sign or 4-way stop on
15B, yes, yeah.
Okay, I saw that.
Where did that come up? How did that get determined that it needed to be there?
So we don't truly like a lot of speed bumps around town. And one of the streets department's ideas was to put up stop signs in that area in particular. And I've gotten actually a lot of positive comments, but I've got a lot of negative ones too. I've gotten a lot of positive comments on where we placed it and how it's impacted the traffic on that street. So,
but what process did it go through? I mean,
we're allowed to put stop signs up. We just, that's what we did.
Well,
we determined it as
So you're using it instead of a speed bump.
Correct. As a speed control program.
So normally when people want, normally when people want stop signs put up, they have to, like, they request it, they go to the portal, they put it in, and then we have to do like traffic studies. Is what we've done in the past.
No, but
Even if we wanted to put a speed bump in, because I know I've requested a ton of speed bumps for citizens, and they come back and they say we have to do a study to make sure that we need that in that area.
To make sure that speed bumps create noise and stop signs don't. So, yeah, I mean, if you want us to do that, we can absolutely do that. But
Well, I mean, I don't think that we should delay the process because that stretch of road is so long. And the way they park up and down that street on B, it's so tight. So if somebody's coming down fast and there's somebody else coming through, there could be a really bad collision there. So I wouldn't want to delay the process.
There's still a learning curve there.
On B.
On
So you would know it was there. I mean, we run it. I always go out and on B.
Microphone's
Street.
picking her up.
And I've run it
That's okay.
3 or 4 times.
Well,
I think a lot, B is a very busy street.
There were a bunch of people that ran it. I don't know if we didn't remember how many people ran that stop sign.
Well, I know I talked to Steve about speed bumps. And he said, in particular, like Yucca, which is completely a complete circle, they had requested speed bumps. And they had suggested, let's try the stop signs, and people actually stop. With speed bumps, I think they've become
Like
speed bumps smart now.
Yeah.
Because you either go really fast and whew, you're over it and you continue going fast, or you slow down and then you bump. But unless you have them like one here and then a ways and then another one, you know to go slow. Otherwise, if you know, oh, I'm coming up at a speed bump, I'm gonna increase my speed, you get up over it and you're up it. And then they're not as effective as they used to be. So I think now with the stop signs, they're coming down the road and they're saying, okay, a stop sign, and it literally will stop traffic. And again, it's just to be preventing health of accidents, or now that school can be getting out soon, kids in the streets and riding their bikes and balls rather than reactive. So, yeah.
Mr. Reckler?
Get used to it.
Yep.
Yeah, the question I had was, and it was before your time, but there was a time that we were designating Third Street as a bike-friendly way to get back and forth from Eastern. At one point, anybody else remember this? Before my time on here, but I know we did that. So my question was, why didn't we do it on Third, where we were already trying to do something specific rather than Fifth? I like the sign. I'm not opposed to it, and I wouldn't mind another one a little farther down the street. It's hard for those who have lived here 60 years to remember it's there. I agree. But we can learn. Old dogs can learn eventually. But I wondered why that street, when we already had a specific program that I thought was being in place for bike lane to Eastern on Third Street.
I did not know about that program, so I would have to.
Yeah, you might have checked that out.
Pretty much everybody upstairs.
Yeah.
And so as part of that process, what's the criteria for it to reach the threshold where something is done?
For a stop sign?
Yeah, so
If
3 neighbors request a stop sign in that location, is it done, or does it have to be more than that?
it doesn't have to be, and we're gonna probably codify it a little bit more going forward. It was an idea that we had, and we decided to implement it to see how it works. It's a little bit cheaper than, well, I don't know if it's cheaper than speed bumps, I don't want to say that, but I know that it does not tear up the road like a speed bump does if people were to complain that we had to remove the speed bump. So it's just a different way to try to control speed, I guess you could say.
And I'm for these things. I'm just saying, probably need to have a pretty concrete process in mind before we just start throwing up stop signs at 2 or 3 requests.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
And I do have an ordinance I was working on for speed bumps, and I can just add stop signs to that list.
And then on the bags.
Yes, sir.
We've got a bucket truck that picks up trash. When we have residents put their trash in a bag, is the bag emptied and brought back, or is the bag go to the landfill?
So we're gonna take the boom truck and we're gonna pick the bag up, and we're gonna try to reuse the bags as we can. Obviously, if the bags tear, rip, or have we don't want liquids and paints and oils in them. So if people don't, if we find that in those, then obviously we can't reuse them like that.
And is there different size bags?
There are 3 yard bags that we're using right now. So they hold up to about 3,000 pounds of stuff.
Okay.
So And it'll help if you're doing, and I see this a lot, and I get complaints about this a lot, is if people are doing construction on a house and they're tearing stuff out, a lot of people they'll just dump it next to the dumpster. What that does is if people are doing home renovations on their own and they don't want to take all this stuff, they have this is now an extra, it's another piece for them to use.
Okay.
And it's free.
My thought is, my processing of this is until about, I don't remember, 5-6 years ago, when we started putting signs on the dumpsters that you couldn't put things beside the dumpsters. Maybe it hadn't been that long. Might have just been 4 years ago. We used to have a way of requesting the boom truck to just come by and pick up trash that was left by the dumpster.
Right.
And they would do that. And then whenever it was determined that we were going to quit doing that, and we started putting the signs on the dumpster, we had 2 boom trucks at that time that were functioning. Now we've got a new one.
Correct.
So why don't we just go back to the practice of letting people request us to come pick up things that are by the dumpster? And especially if we can get our transfer station that we requested, take that in and put it at the transfer station and then haul it to the dump. And not have to go through this process of putting it in a bag and
so
adding to the landfill.
Put it in the, giving people the option for the bag, I think gives them it gives us more of a schedule to go on, right? We don't always have the ability to use the boom truck every day, but if the streets department knows when they need to pick these things up, then we're on a schedule and that can be checked. We're also looking to probably closer to summer, do 1 day a month bulk pickup from around town where we will do such a thing where we will take the boom truck, we will pick up stuff. This is just another avenue that it's just another piece in the puzzle to try to clean things up.
Our alley, we've got an apartment complex there by our office, and we're continually having people go out there and throw old beds and mattresses and recliners and all of that stuff out there. And a lot of times I go over there and load it up and haul it to the convenience center just because it's not worth the hassle. But
and I will say, and I got this, I talked with the residents Friday, and they're starting basically, what do they call it? Southwest Cleanup Collective, which they're gonna start doing community cleanups and everything. And we're gonna have wherever they need a roll off, we'll put a roll off and different things. So the trend is going in the right direction. I think that's where adding the bags into it is gonna help us. Yeah. So hopefully we don't have mattresses rolling around, couches laying out next to dumpsters. But we're just trying to give, obviously, you can leave a horse water, you can't make them drink it, but we're trying to help people drink the water.
Can we, or do you have somebody on staff that could video the process? So you give somebody a bag and they fill it up.
So that we can do that.
And just show how the process works. Give a bag, show little clips of what, I think that would.
Yeah,
help.
that would be
I mean,
good
like
to put it on the
Put it
website.
on the website. I'm happy to share it if you put it out there. Sorry, we got voluntold.
Oh, I did a video for TJ, Chief Kathy got a new fire truck and they pushed it. It's picking up.
Sorry.
I'm talking about it. And I did a video, so I can do another video.
Okay, thank you. I think that would help.
We have an intern.
Anything else, Mr. Murray?
Uh,
Anybody else on staff? Okay, I think we got all of Eldon's questions. We'll start with Mr. I'm just kidding.
Just come up with those after he presented it.
Mr. Rackler, we'll start with you.
And I will say on the trash bags, I think if people are gonna do a remodel, and I've seen it in other communities, when you're doing a remodel, those are ideal, because if you're gonna remodel a bathroom, you can throw every single thing in one bag and.
I will say one thing on that is that we cannot go on the private property, so.
Right.
Wherever the boom truck is.
You still gotta set it in the right place,
Still gotta
but
set it
you
in the
can
right
do the
place.
remodel and have a bag, you know. My question is, as long as the boom truck can reach it, can it set in a driveway?
Yes, as long as the driveway is not blocked.
Right.
We go to pick it up.
Right, okay.
Absolutely.
Because some people might have a space to put it on the driveway and.
As long as it's next to the street, then we can.
Yeah,
drive it.
close to the street.
Absolutely.
I think it's, I think it's beneficial for remodel purposes, from what I do.
That's gonna make your neighbors happy. Putting that bag out in the front.
Oh, well.
It's only we give 2 weeks, so it's a 2-week process unless you call and need to extend it, but we give you, normally if you're not gonna fill it up within 2 weeks, you're probably not gonna fill it up, so.
Right.
And we need it back if you're not gonna use it.
And the final question on that was, is there only one bag per person for?
Right now, there's
lot
only
at
one
one
bag.
time?
Right now, there's only one bag per person. Obviously, we only have 51 bags that we were able to get, and so. Trying to use grant money as much as possible and not incur the cost of the city.
Okay. That's all.
Ms.
One
Parker.
thing about the bags is, like Eldon was saying, is that your neighbors will like it, but one of these days we'll learn that when you see a bag like that, that means that they themselves took the responsibility of cleaning up their own mess. So we would appreciate, I mean, right now we're thinking, oh, great, they're throwing their trash out in the front yard. We'll eventually learn that these bags are good. So a question that I have, do we have any plans for tumbleweeds at our city parks? I know like on Rotary Park in specific, I mean, baseball season's coming up and I know there's kids out there playing and it's dry and the wind is blowing and.
Steve, they are working on that and they work on it as much as they can, especially after the winds. I had somebody text me a picture of an alley and we went out and cleaned it up because it was impassable. So they are gonna work on that, but obviously the winds are not gonna. Trying to do it to where we're not gonna do it like every week.
I drove down Avenue O today on the state streets and there's tumbleweeds just almost blocked that road up. Coming off of that field.
And once when people, I mean, they obviously can't see everything. Once if I'm notified and I can notify Steve, then he usually goes out and takes care of that.
And can citizens put that in the work portal?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's perfect.
Tumbleweeds, potholes, tumbleweeds, trash. And that is all. You did answer my questions about the street signs and stuff. And I know once our weather starts turning to where we are able to go out and work more without all of this, things will start moving in the right direction. And I appreciate you and your staff very much, Mr. Moyer, because we are moving in that direction slowly and we are having to relearn a lot of these things that we're having to do. I mean, and it's just for the betterment of our community. So I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
That's true.
That, what'd you call it? Southwest something.
Clean up.
I saw the Facebook post on that.
Yes, sir.
And I'm all for that. I'm glad that people are starting to take some action in that. I want to thank Mike Davidson and
Mr. Watkins.
Gary Watkins. We're kind of getting that started and get people interested in that and seeing what they were able to do. I think that's kind of fired up some other citizens to kind of step up and help out also. And so I just hope that we can keep that trend going and you know, if we can keep people from dumping their trash in places where they shouldn't, then I mean, if you've got an automobile and your trash dumpster's full and you got a trunk, it doesn't take very long to just throw a couple of bags in the back and you can either find a more empty dumpster or you can go to the convenience center and dump it. But to just keep piling it up and piling it up, there's dogs and cats and everything else are gonna rip those bags open and that trash flies all over town and so. I know that everybody says, well, we just need to get our trash trucks out there and picking up trash. Well, we've got 2 trucks. And on days like today, they can't go back because they won't let them. So they're sitting idle with a truck full of trash. Which is another reason why we need to get our transfer station down, where we can still be bringing trash in and dumping in our transfer station. And, I mean, we've got things in the works. We just got to get it all going. So
We did not get the money for the plan and design for that. Transportation.
Well, that's good.
We got notified of that, I think. Late last week or early this week, I'm not sure.
We'll ask again.
We will. Right now, there is no congressionally directed spending money with the continuing resolution, and I've been told that there will be no junior money in the state this year. From what the last email that I read, so it's gonna be a little bit more difficult to get some of the things that we want.
Yeah. Yeah. Where are we at on? We were awarded some money from the water truck deal. Have we received any of that funding yet?
Yes, we have. So the Lime Street tank is actually, that money is being spent right now. On the inspection and all those different things for Lime Street. Well,
So Wellfield Grant and then the 2 Lime Street have all outlay 500,000 and then the other one with the Lime Street. So we've got 2 water trust board grants and then 1 capital outlay. We haven't received the money because it's as we spend it, then we get reimbursed.
And just so you know, I did request that Miss Rivera, whenever she's doing the project as we're spending, so we know exactly what's been spent, what's been completed, that she'll bring a report for that to finance committee and then also to council.
Okay.
That way we actually know.
So that money that was here tagged as Wellfield improvement.
Correct.
Can we not do our Aquaterix?
I'm actually looking at we asked the question, we just haven't gotten an answer back yet. Because the water trust board money, when you apply for it, is very specific on how you do certain things. We work with DBSNA for that, for the well field. And so if it's not through DBSNA, they tend to not approve that. So we're working on that right now.
But DBSNA was a $275,000 deal.
Correct.
Aquaterix, we're talking 20 to 30,000. So for the initial.
Correct. But it's with state money and grants, we have to ask if it's not its first intended purpose, we have to ask for anything different.
It has to be written out in the application.
It always has to be approved, and because if we spend it on something that's not approved by the state, and then we can use our grant funding.
I understand that, but
we're working on it.
Yeah, okay.
Anything else? Mr. Elkins?
Yeah, I'm just gonna reiterate the baseball fields at Rotary 2, the tumbleweeds. We had practice out there last night and I picked up 2 glass pipes out of the middle of the infield. So that's an issue to me. So we are doing a citywide cleanup on Saturday at 9. I know a group of us will be at Rotary, some will be at City Park, others at Lindsay. Next question on that with Lindsay, that tree and the pole.
Correct.
Are we gonna get that?
We are working on, Steve, he's working on that. We just need equipment to, and I want to say he was going to try to get in touch with our CEC to help with, we don't have the equipment to safely lower that and reset it.
Okay. I will get in touch with Steve and see what we can do to help on that.
Okay.
And then with Steve for the keys to the alleys in the softball complex where we have that mound of dirt, we're wanting to get rid of that mound of dirt, keep rodents and stuff away and make it easier to mow. if we can get those keys for that to get a loader in there to back that out for our cleanup day, that would be great.
Sure.
And then don't kill the messenger, TJ, but they asked, can we burn the tumbleweeds? I would assume I know that answer.
Not today.
But they.
Stand next to me, microphone next to me.
Yep. According to city ordinance, there's no burning in the city limits that's not in a closed container, like a barbecue grill or a fire pit with a cover.
Okay. Could y'all come burn them? Was the next question. Have a controlled burn.
Applications are online at portales.gov. We have 4 open positions and we'll probably need to add a lot more to be able to do that. So no.
Good deal. Well, that's all I was requested to ask.
Do you need for the cleanup, do you need a dumpster, roll off, anything like that?
At the softball fields, we have those 2 dumpsters. And then at the city parks, there are dumpsters and there's gonna be a big group of us, so we'll probably just walk to the local dumpsters. One thing, the weeds are a foot high in the outfields. Can we get in there to mow the actual fields? Or can we bring our own?
I'll talk to Steve.
Okay, that'd be great. If they can't get to it, we can bring our own and hammer it out. That's all I got.
Thank you. Mr. Lopez, Mr. Self.
They covered everything.
I know, those are good questions tonight, Miss.
And thank you, JP Stone, for all you do for the community, not to leave out New Mexico Bank and Trust, but we appreciate you. Thank you.
Mr. Robinson.
They covered everything that I was gonna bring up about trash. But there's one thing I noticed when I went to Texas to watch Eastern play basketball. That state is so clean. And one of the things that seems to be coming in that state, don't mess with Texas signs all over the state. And if I was wondering if we could start looking at a way to adopt something like an Alice and put a fine, said, don't mess with our Alice. And it's a $500 fine or $1,000 fine. I'm just throwing that out because there is a fine if you get caught in Texas throwing litter on the road. That state is clean. And I don't know why we can't have something like that in this state, in this city.
That's what it says on the dumpster.
Thank you to our legislators for removing all the fees that go with the fines, so they are now very minimal.
They're very minimal. So we can't even raise the fees above as a city.
That would take some research, probably from court people.
Well,
we don't deal with fines, we just deal with.
Because it does already say on the dumpster, we have a fine if you. I don't know anybody's ever been assessed.
I don't think it say how much though, we might.
I can't remember.
I can't recall it. I'm just saying that when I drive through Texas and you see something say, don't mess with Texas, and you see you will be fined. Nobody there policing it, but in the mind, subliminally, people are afraid to drop their trash.
New Mexico has it was Clean and Beautiful, now it's
The what?
it's like the Breaking Bad.
Oh, yes.
That's their new campaign is the Breaking Bad campaign, but I'm not
Brian
exactly
Creston.
sure what it is. So Clean and Beautiful is it's still there, but it transitioned over to that.
So I was wondering if we could start marketing that in our Alice, saying something much more bigger. Because if you go down Main Street and find a convenience center, it's a sign about this big. It says Portales Convenience Center. It is not even 2 feet. People can't hardly read it.
We have a new sign machine that we're gonna be using, so. We'll get that taken.
Because you need to let people, and then also at the convenience center, it's not convenient. Because construction is going on over there.
It is, and that is because we took down the whole building, we have a new building to where they'll have 2 offices, a break room, microwave, refrigerator, and heat and air conditioning, and a bathroom inside of it, so we're just improving the conditions for the people that actually work there.
Now, did the
It's a little
public?
inconvenient right now, but it will be good here in about a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Which what I'm saying, did the public know that this was going on?
We did put it out, yes.
You did, okay. I sit over there for 3 hours, look like trying to get my trash in, and I said, I'm gonna dump it right here on the side of the fence. No, I wouldn't.
You'll get fined.
I'm messing with Dallas.
We did put it out on social media and also talked about it on the radio, I think twice. So.
Well, I figured as much, but here's the positive side of something. In my travel this weekend, I am so proud of this young athletes from Eastern and Portales High School. They represent our community very well. People were bragging about our young ladies and fans in Texas about the way they participated and how they carried Portales Square. And we had an ordinance on people asking, where is Portales? But then they saw our kids competing, and then they really proud of our kids. They made us proud. And I think we need to do a lot more for our kids in this town. And I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we gotta just start doing some more things for our kids and our youth and our young ladies who played in the state championship games. They did well, and people are bragging about their participation. They're good sports persons, and they did a very wonderful job representing as ambassadors for our community. We should send them kudos.
Anything else?
I think kind of what you're talking about, Oscar. At one point, we would have the school, like representatives from the school, whether it was the superintendent or principals, come to our city council meetings to honor the kids, that had gone. I know my granddaughter, she's at the junior high, and they just went for FCCLA to the state competition, and her and 4 other students are going to nationals in Florida, Orlando, to represent the Portales Junior High. And her instructor was very, very, she was very, very adamant about making sure you're not going to be wearing, torn jeans, you're not going to be wearing sweats to breakfast, you are representing Portales Junior High. So she had so when our students go out there, whether it's for athletic programs or just programs within the school, they're doing such a good job of representing Portales that we need to somehow connect with the schools. And I'm not sure how we want to do that. We did that at one point and have them come and say, this is what our students did. Our girls went to state, they ended up doing this or whatever they did. But we need to honor them at that point too. And then in other words, really fast, at one point, we did the Clean and Beautiful every spring. And we would have the big truck come out and park at the memorial building, remember, in the parking lot. And then we would have like hot dogs and we would feed the community and all the different groups. And Portales National at the bank, at that time was Portales National. We appreciated so much everything that you have done for our community. But they would participate and we would get them all together to help clean. But there again, we can use our students, because when we go into our schools and we start teaching our students and our children about clean. And at one point, do you remember a long, long time ago, they used to give little, whether it was the banks or the different different businesses in town would give little trash bags that you could put in your car. There's a plastic bag that when you have trash, but when we start educating our kids about not throwing out trash and about cleaning our community and about if you see trash, pick it up, don't throw anything out the window. Because we have said this before, all the trash in our communities are trash. Because when people drive through our community and they see we have trash everywhere, they're like, oh, this is a community that doesn't really care. They will add to it. So if we could find some way, and we could talk with the superintendent Rowley about maybe doing some programs now that spring's coming and having our kids. So when the kids are in the car with mom and dad, they can say, oh no, we can't throw trash out the window. We can't, there's all this trash. So when our kids start noticing it, so instead of trying to educate us as adults, because it's so hard for us sometimes to get to that point, we need to really focus on our students in our schools.
So I will forward you, I'll forward council this email that I received by the Southwest Collective, but they've already been contacted by Teen Court, Roosevelt County Public Health Department, Portales High School Student Council, and collaborating with the BNMU Agricultural Department. So there's a lot of different things. They're starting that trend. They also, which I have to look at, but they also want to start a community garden, so. Things are turning, and they are definitely looking to get volunteers from the schools and all that, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so final comments. I just wanted to say before all the winds, went out to the cemetery and it looks so nice. All those trees that were trimmed and cleaned up and all of the raking that happened out on the south side looked really great. So appreciate that. Another organization that I'd like to give kudos to is the BPA from Portales High School. They went to competition and they fared very well at their competition. So congratulations to all of those students. And then staff, of course, you know, I always like to thank the staff because you are our vital our biggest asset that we have here in the city. Also, every staff member that's having to work out in this wind, we are praying for you and we hope that the wind subsides soon. And with that, we are adjourned at 7:40.